Taiwan's representative at this year's APEC summit in Peru meets the U.S. Secretary of State. The first results of a survey carried out with NASA help lift the fog on Taiwan's air pollution. Plus,
it's planting season for red beans in southern Taiwan, Pintung, but an invasive species is making it even more difficult for local farmers. We find out why.
good evening. Welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Joyce Tseng. The top diplomat from the United States has met with Taiwan's representative at the APEC forum in Peru. Rhys Ayers reports from Lima.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has met with Taiwan's delegation leader Lin Hsin-yi on the sidelines of this year's APEC summit in Peru. The pair are said to have had a warm exchange, discussing how to continue strengthening the US-Taiwan relationship and maintain peace and stability in the region. It's a rare opportunity for Taiwan to meet with a high-ranking US official, something Beijing often tries to discourage, as it seeks to isolate Taiwan diplomatically. Taiwan has been a member of APEC since its inception, but must participate under the name Chinese Taipei, and is unable to send its leader due to objections from China. The meeting will likely come as a relief for Taipei after reports that APEC host country Peru removed at least one of Taiwan's government-sponsored billboards placed around Lima. In the final days of the summit, Lin is expected to meet with more national and economic leaders, both formally and informally, as Taipei seeks to tighten bilateral relations despite pressure from Beijing. Scott Huang, Harel Hughes and Rhys Ayers in Lima, Peru for TaiwanPlus.
A new port in central Peru is set to transform trade between China and South America, but the lead-up to its inauguration has left locals out of pocket. Harel Hughes reports.
Chinese President Xi Jinping has inaugurated this new megaport in central Peru that Beijing says will transform trade across South America.
我们正在见证的不仅仅是共建“一带一路”倡议 在秘鲁的生根开花，也是一条新时代亚拉陆海新通道的诞生。
The $3.6 billion project began in 2019 on Peru's central coast, just 75 kilometers from Lima in this small fishing community called Chancay. Preparations for the inauguration have brought the community to a standstill.
El capitán nos ha dicho que el paseo no va hoy día. ¿Por qué? Porque tiene que cerrar porque le van a inaugurar para la parte de atrás de Cosco Chipi.
Lo que pasa que la molestia de todos nosotros es que nos han prohibido 5 días para no salir a trabajar. O sea, no pueden salir a trabajar los pescadores por la inauguración, supuestamente por la seguridad.
La gente son del día a día, son pescadores independientes y esos deben hablar antes de formar ese como dice 5 días que no están permitiendo salir a pescar.
She inaugurated the port during his visit to Peru for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum, where more projects between the two countries are expected, helping propel China's aims to be a new trade leader in South America. Scott Huang, Rhys Ayers, and Harel Hughes in Chancay, Peru for TaiwanPlus.
News agency Reuters is reporting that President Lai Ching-te will make a stop in the U.S. state of Hawaii as he embarks on his first overseas visit as head of state. It'll be part of a trip to visit Taiwan's diplomatic allies in the Pacific. Lai is also reportedly considering a layover in the U.S. territory of Guam. While Washington does not allow official visits from Taiwan's presidents as part of its One China policy, it is common for Taiwanese leaders to make layovers in the United States en route to state visits in other countries. China responded by demanding the U.S. block the visit and accusing Taiwan of political manipulation. Lai's trip will reportedly happen in the next few weeks. Former President Tsai Ing-wen may visit Canada next week. Reuters reports that Tsai will travel to Nova Scotia to deliver a speech at the annual Halifax International Security Forum on November 22nd. Tsai's office has not confirmed the trip. TaiwanPlus reached out to Canada's Global Affairs Department for comment, but did not receive a response by the time of airing. NASA and Taiwanese researchers have released the findings of a joint air quality survey they conducted at the start of the year. The results reveal which parts of Taiwan have polluted air and why pollution lingers there. John Van Trieste reports.
We're back in smog season, when air pollution becomes a more apparent problem, especially in the industrial cities of Taiwan's south. But thanks to a research project conducted at the start of the year, scientists have a clearer picture of where this pollution comes from and why it tends to linger, a possible starting point for future environmental policies. This was an international effort, a collaboration between NASA and Taiwanese institutions. As part of a bigger Asian air quality survey, NASA aircraft crisscrossed Taiwan in February and March, analyzing pollution at different altitudes. Among the takeaways, in some kinds of weather, when contrary winds blow, polluted air can get stuck, blown first one direction, then another, in an endless loop.
这个不同风向造成的就是一个涡旋，涡旋的结果就是这些污染物散不出去，没有办法扩散。
But polluted air can still rise quite high. In some cases, air quality 200 to 500 meters up can be even worse than on the ground. Much of this pollution has been traced back to the petrochemical industry. Some scholars are already thinking about the origins of this pollution and the need to keep them in check.
这些高活性的东西是我们最在意的。然后你会看到浓度那么高所以当然这是我们下手的对象，毫无疑问。所以源头的管理还要精准化。
And there's optimism the project's findings will lead to policy changes that will make the air better.
未来这些的资料都可以对应到的产业别，甚至未来都有机会甚至到哪一个特定的工业区，可能是哪一根的特殊的烟囱所排放的，都可以一清二楚。
Taiwanese academics involved in the project are also pleased with the success of Taiwan-made measuring equipment used in surveying. And they say with the project's results starting to come in, they'll be able to make more accurate models, getting a better idea of what pollutants are a problem and where they're coming from. The approach of winter means smog even in places far from the worst of the pollution, places like Taipei. With our new data in hand, though, academics and policymakers can address this bad air, helping the country breathe easier. Chris Ma and John Van Trieste in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's Supreme Court has declined to rule on an infamous toxic exposure case that affected thousands of workers in the 90s, sending the case back to the High Court for further investigation.
工人求偿有期限，工人求偿有期限，资本杀人无限期，资本杀人无限期。
他的理由就是时效可能不够清楚，用白话讲就是你这个案件的请求会不会太慢？这件事情不够清楚，要花为2审继续查清楚。
Former workers of Radio Corporation of America, or RCA, have been fighting for compensation for years, launching waves of lawsuits that got a 2019 ruling that awarded over $70 million to over 1,000 plaintiffs, a record sum in Taiwan's legal history. But thousands more survivors and affected families of those who've died from the toxins are still waiting for their results, growing angry at how long the courts have stalled.
还是在帮二职的 RCA 公司毒害受害者的健康权，更漠视受害者的生命权。我们都已经7老80了，健康被摧残，生命被受威胁。
The exact death toll and cancer patient count is unclear, but data from labor officials shows that at least 286 women workers developed breast cancer from the exposure. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has announced new picks for his cabinet, including Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as health secretary. Kennedy had run for president before dropping out of the race in August and endorsing Trump. He's widely known for his anti-vaccine position. Former Georgia Representative Doug Collins has been picked to lead the Department of Veterans Affairs. Collins served in the U.S. House from 2013 to 2021. He currently serves as a chaplain in the U.S. Air Force Reserves. Trump also announced he is tapping former software executive turned North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum to head the Department of the Interior. Taiwan's Foxconn is planning to invest more in the United States, Mexico, and Vietnam. The electronics giant and iPhone maker has been working to diversify its supply chain amid ongoing U.S.-China trade tensions. It's already expanded its production in India. The company has operations in 24 countries and regions and saw record profit in the third quarter. It's betting big on its AI server business for next year. Farmers in Pintung are finding it extra difficult to plant red beans this season. An invasive species is eating up all their plants before they can even grow. Sandy Chi went to the farmlands to find out what's going on.
It's raining green iguanas here in Pintung in southern Taiwan. But this isn't a sign of thriving local wildlife. Rather, it's the result of an invasive species taking root and spreading in the area. And as they multiply, they're causing serious damage to local crops, especially the local red beans. The iguanas are so bold, they even feed in broad daylight.
这你咧死食的，这食了真严重啊！损失嘛真严重，因为损失种落到收成，这一轮地收的头2万块，啊，真好食的，真连成本都无。上严重像真咱倒食一区，倒食半区较低啊。
Red bean planting season started in October, and within just a few weeks, the green iguanas chewed through local fields, devastating the farmers' young tender crops. Some farmers set up nets around their plants to protect them.
我们每天都来看，围网子抓小只的，大只的很有力，抓不起来。
The method isn't very effective. Setting up nets is time-consuming and pricey.
我们不是渔民，我们每天再去买渔网，不是来捞鱼哦，不是来捕鱼哦，我们来抓绿鬣蜥。慢慢我们的农田就会被这些外来的物种给入侵啊，再也没有农人愿意去从事生产，还没到成熟的红豆的时候就已经被绿鬣蜥吃掉了。那我花了1次的钱、2次的钱、3次的钱，我为什么要种？我就改行了嘛，我来卖渔网，我还赚的比红豆还多。
哦，真干啊！我这迄落安糟蹋甲会死呢。我安一区哦，3工无去，甲食一半呢。我用网啊网着我杀个杀我死啊！
Many farmers have turned to the area's councillor, Hong Zhongqi, for help. This is when the local government can step in to help arrange hunters to remove the iguanas.
到目前为止啊，大概我们接获通报的农民数大概超过100人。
To remove the green iguanas, hunters head out during the night when they're easier to capture. They use slingshots and snake tongues to capture as many as they can. Pintung County is seeing an ever-growing population of iguanas, with more removed each year. The number of removals increased from 4,000 to over 34,000 in recent years. With such a large population of green iguanas in Pintung and the red bean planting season underway, removing the lizards isn't just about controlling an invasive species. It's a critical step in supporting local farmers and protecting their livelihoods. Hang Shu and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up after the break, how photos taken nearly 150 years ago are helping descendants of Taiwan's indigenous Pingpu peoples reconnect with their past.
Hello and welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm Ian Kavat. Today we examine China's engagement with Africa.
So, unfortunately, this very aggressive form of cultural revolution-like politics in China seems to be moving forward in this modern era.
This grave injustice is happening.
The issue is, what can the U.S. do to help strengthen Taiwan?
We need that kind of mindset to prepare for the warfare.
What implications does this have on Taiwan and the region as a whole?
Just like Ukraine right now, you need people to understand we're doing this for our own country.
Reaffirmed our support for the Taiwanese ability to make their own decisions about their own future.
It's very hard to duplicate in the short time. Taiwan still can continue being the leading position if we put efforts on R&D.
And you are riding on a wave. This is exactly the time you need to double down.
Or I did not realize
I am actually running to be the first Asian woman in the state senate. Our next generation, they can see Asian American is as equal and have the same platform.
Taiwan Talks provides a platform for the voices and perspectives that are shaping our country.
For more stories from Taiwan, around the world, and in front of a World War II-era aircraft carrier, please download the TaiwanPlus app. It's bigger than it looks.
Start your weekend with a cup of coffee and a moment to reflect on what happened this week.
Hello and welcome.
We've got you covered, from defense and politics to high tech and the arts.
Not just to Taiwan, the whole world is watching.
You make the coffee, we make the news.
Here's what happened on TaiwanPlus.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Nearly 150 years ago, a Scottish photographer captured images of indigenous people in a remote valley in southern Taiwan. Today, his work is helping their descendants retrace their heritage and exposing a nearly forgotten culture. Billy Wu has more.
A century-old photograph reveals how Huang Zhaoying's ancestors lived. These images of Taiwan's indigenous Pingpu peoples were taken by Scottish photographer John Thompson. Now, nearly 150 years later, the descendants of the people in the images are using land to reconnect with their past.
这就是那个皇家的小儿子汤姆森的记载里面，他有写说，这个皇家的小儿子呢，就是很活泼，然后在他隔天就是他带着他们去老龙溪谷去捕鱼。
Huang Zhaoying is a descendant of the family in these photos. She is a community guide in Lao Nong Valley in Kaohsiung in Taiwan South. As a member of the indigenous Pingpu community, she is on a personal mission to reclaim her heritage before it fades away. Indigenous Pingpu groups settle in Taiwan's western and southern plains and coastal areas. They have long-established cultural and social practices which blend traditional beliefs with influences from settlers, and Lao Nong Valley in Kaohsiung was once one of their major settlements. But over time, their culture has faded. Now, local elders are working to preserve their history by sharing their knowledge of the plants and resources their ancestors once relied on.
这个是老虎原木，叫我叫做保养。较早人无够盐的时阵，就摕来这来做代替。 啊，保养就伊啊，分香车的时阵，阮就会甲错转来，两支啊小拄安尼，就是会当压茶。
But it's not just the land they're reconnecting with. The community sings the chants and songs passed down from their ancestors, believed to be gifts from the gods themselves. They hope to revive these ancient traditions and pass them on to future generations.
那一直到前几年，我们再把文字档 跟音档做比对，再把它找出来，到底它是怎么唱的，啊，再教这边的族人，去唱。
The Pingpu people's culture is on the verge of disappearing across Taiwan, but their descendants are still fighting. For them, this revival is more than remembering. It's a way to pass on their culture to generations yet to come. Scott Huang and Billy Wu for TaiwanPlus.
The third Taiwan-India dialogue has finished in Taipei. Think tanks from the two countries exchanged views on boosting partnership in semiconductors, talent exchange, and regional security matters. Deputy Foreign Minister Tian Zongguang says India is a key partner in Taiwan's new southbound policy, and that Taipei will continue to promote exchanges with New Delhi. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has ordered the mass production of suicide drones after overseeing tests of the technology. Kim's orders come as North Korea and Russia strengthen their relationship, sparking fears that Pyongyang could receive Moscow's support in its drone program. Both North and South Korea have flown drones over each other's territory, with the North even flying some of its systems over Seoul's presidential office. South Korea's military has deployed weapons capable of shooting these down. These developments come amid heightened tensions on the Korean peninsula. In Amsterdam and Paris, violent riots have broke out as Israeli football fans attending regional games were attacked on the streets. Tiffany Wong has more.
Football fans in Paris thanked the police after a UEFA Nations League match between the French and Israeli teams ends safely, despite brewing tensions in the city. 4,000 police were on duty inside and outside the 80,000 capacity stadium over fears of attacks on Israeli fans. Only a fifth of the venue is filled, with 16,000 people showing up to support their teams.
Bien sûr, non, mais la peur au sein de la communauté juive, elle est compréhensible par les faits, par les actes antisémites. Mais si on commence voilà, déjà à baisser les bras, baisser la tête, ne pas aller voir un match de foot parce qu'on a peur, parce qu'on est juif, c'est des vrais signes qui montrent qu'il y a un vrai problème en France. Le problème peut être existant, mais...
Viva, viva Palestina! Viva, viva Palestina!
Ahead of the game in a Paris suburb, hundreds of people marched in a pro-Palestinian rally, this in response to a fundraising gala in the city for the Israeli military. Protesters calling Israel's war against Hamas a genocide for killing over 40,000 Palestinians in Gaza. Many businesses were damaged in the demonstration. Last week, violence also erupted in Amsterdam, where another Israeli football team played in the Europa League. Video posted on social media shows a group of men, which the video owner claimed were Maccabi Tel Aviv fans, running in the street chasing people down after the football match. Other videos showed Maccabi fans chanting anti-Arab slurs. Dozens of Israelis who came for the match were injured in clashes in the city. In response, the city banned demonstrations for 3 days, the mayor saying she was ashamed of the attacks. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also condemned the attacks, organizing flights to bring Israeli citizens back home. But some Muslims living in Amsterdam said fights around sporting events like these are common.
Ja, ik voel me gewoon, het is gebeurd. Het gebeurt overal in de voetbalwereld. Dat is niet de eerste keer dat is gebeurd hier in Nederland. Maar alleen met social media, zeg maar, tv's, dan maakt ze heel iets groots van smaak van olifant van.
Others said the riots are more about public dissatisfaction with their government's response to the Israel-Hamas war.
Dus tegen Joden is daar absoluut niks aan de hand. Alleen het probleem is wel tegen het Zionisme en dat Nederland nog steeds staat achter waar Israël nu mee bezig is. Ja, dat is gewoon voor ons onacceptabel.
But as the war in the Middle East rages on, it will continue to affect communities abroad, too, as people take sides and choose whom to support on and off the pitch. Andy Xue and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
An anti-monkey operation is underway in Thailand's historic city of Lopburi. The city's monkey population exploded during the COVID-19 pandemic, with reports even of monkey brawls on the streets. But as Rosie Greninger reports, solving the city's primate problem is proving to be difficult.
This is Lopburi, Thailand, a historic town 150 kilometers north of Bangkok, known for its temples and lively monkeys. Once primarily found in surrounding forests, the animals have now overrun the city, becoming a nuisance to residents here.
ไม่อิสระไม่มีใครอยากจะอยู่ในสภาพแบบนี้หรอกอยากไปดูนอกดูนู่นดูนี่หรือมองเห็นท้องฟ้าเห็นความโล่งโปร่งเห็นแสงสว่างแต่นี่ทุกวันนี้เราก็ต้องมาขังตัวเราเองมากลายเป็นว่าไม่มีอิสรภาพในพื้นที่บ้านของตัวเอง
It wasn't always so dire. Lopburi residents once happily coexisted with the monkeys, which are believed to bring good fortune. They were also a major tourist draw to the area. But the animals became unruly, and their numbers rose when the city of 58,000 was shut down over the COVID-19 pandemic.
ดังนั้นเนี่ยไอ้พฤติกรรมการกินกันอยู่แบบนี้ของลิงมันเกิดจากการที่คนเนี่ยไม่ออกมาใช้แอคทิวิตี้ด้วยมันเลยทำให้เขาบุกรุกและเขามองว่าเมืองนี้เป็นของเขาเหมือนPlanet of the Apes อะครับก็คือพิภพวานอนอย่างนั้นเลยมันเป็นอย่างจริงคือเขาเรียนรู้แล้วเขาก็ปรับตัวเร็วมาก
The monkeys wreaked havoc, confronting residents, stealing foods and other goods, causing road accidents and fighting each other. They also took over many residential buildings and businesses.
การเรียนรู้ของเขาเนี่ยเยอะมากเยอะและตลอดเวลาต่อให้เราแก้ไปตรงนี้เขาก็จะเรียนรู้ตรงนี้เอามีหลังคาเหรอเอามีตะแกรงเหรอเดี๋ยวเข้าหลังคาใช่ไหมฮะเอามีตะแกรงข้างบนเข้าหลังคาไม่ได้แล้วเข้ามาทางหน้าร้านนี่แหละเข้ามาทางหน้าบ้านนี่แหละประมาณนี้
As complaints mounted, authorities armed with slingshots and traps sprung into action, catching over 1,000 primates and transporting them to an enclosure where they receive food and care.
เพราะฉะนั้นลิงที่อยู่ในนี้เองเนี่ยตัวที่เป็นตัวบ่งชี้ว่าเขามีความสุขคืออะไรรู้ไหมไม่มีลิงกัดกันเลยเพราะอย่าลืมว่าตอนที่ลิงเขาอยู่ตามตึกเนี่ยต่อให้เป็นพี่เป็นน้องกันก็จริงในฝูงลิงเนี่ยแต่ทุกตัวคือคู่แข่งขันกันนะนี่ได้ก่อนแต่พอมาลิงมาอยู่ในสถานที่ที่มีการจัดการที่ดีที่เหมาะสมเนี่ยเขาได้รับอาหารที่เหมาะสมอิ่มเต็มที่
But some residents say the system will not be effective unless all monkeys are caught before they breed. And animal rights groups have complained the cages are unsuitable for the primates and causing them suffering.
I would really ask the government, especially the local government, to stop this for now, start working on a long-term solution.
Authorities say they plan to sterilize 100% of the monkey population, attempting to maintain the cultural integrity of the city. For now, some calm has returned to the streets of Lopburi, and the city's residents are feeling like they're back in control. Devon Tsai and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching Taiwan Plus News. Don't forget to visit the Taiwan Plus website and follow our social media. Finally, check out this T-Rex, which has received a festive makeover for Christmas at London's Natural History Museum. I'm Joyce, and take care and have a good evening.